When summer finally arrives and a young man and young woman's fancy turns to open-top motoring, living life to the full, with the wind flowing through your golden locks. And what better way to do it than in a car like this, the Audi 2.8 convertible, one of the leading players in the executive cabriolet and convertible market. The pose factor of a car like this is just fantastic, let's face it. Admiring and envious glances follow you wherever you go, whether the roof is up or down. In this sector of the cabriolet market, it's tough going. The Saab 900 convertible, now replaced by the 93, leads the market, perhaps quite surprisingly. There's also the BMW 3 Series, the Z3, and the Mercedes SLK. But for me, this Audi convertible has always drawn me to it. Notice now how I call it the Audi convertible. That's because this car now comes with a hardtop as standard. If you order a cabriolet, you don't get one. Confused? Yes, me a little too actually. Suffice to say, the hardtop is a great idea, a snug fit during winter. Now unfortunately the car arrived without the hardtop because it's just too bulky to take on and off, but I can tell you it weighs 38 kilograms and uses Audi's space frame technology, whatever that means. Still, sounds like a two-man job getting the thing on and off. So, what would one of these cars cost you? Well, this is the 2.8 litre 6-cylinder version, and this comes in at a cool £32,700. You pay an extra £2,000 for the convertible over the cabriolet, basically because of the cost of the hard top. So, £32,700 with the extras this car has got on: air conditioning, Recaro seats, one or two other bits and bobs. You're looking at a cool £35,000, and this car could be yours. Now, closing the roof, as you've just seen, is absolute child's play. Opening it is equally as simple. The handbrake on, you turn this catch, push that up there, press a button down here, and the whole thing just does it automatically for you. No need to worry about catching your freshly manicured nails on any unruly catches, grease on those beautifully prepared hands. This car will look great outside your favourite beauty salon. If only life was as simple as opening and closing the roof on one of these cars. So, how does the car drive, and have Audi got the rigidity that you need in a convertible in this model? Well, under the bonnet is a 2.8 litre 6-cylinder engine which previously powered the A8 2.8, a car with real thoroughbred. It pumps out 174 brake horsepower, and acceleration is quickish rather than fast. 0 to 60 in 9.5 seconds, 136 miles per hour top speed. You get lowered sport suspension, a sports steering wheel, and gorgeous Recaro seats. Now, only the other day in a magazine I was reading about what was cool and what was in for this year, one of the sections covered arriving at a country house hotel to find not a car park full of BMWs and Mercedes, but Audis. The A3, the A4, the A6, these Audi convertibles, and the super-duper A8. And Audi obviously is the car to be seen in. And it just so happens that I put my money where my mouth is and recently bought an Audi. I obviously have my finger on the pulse. So, can I recommend an Audi convertible to you? Well, for its sheer style and catwalk looks, absolutely. But let's not forget that this shape dates back to about 1990 when Audi introduced its coupe. So it's not a new shape, it's a classic shape, and classics always retain their appeal. I have been disappointed in the lack of rigidity in the body of this Audi convertible. I drove a Saab 9.3 convertible recently. That felt more stiff and more supple. This is a bit of a disappointment, quite frankly, but it is a full four-seater like the Saab, but you do lose a lot of boot space to have that flush fitting roof. So, a car that's not new, but a classic, and production carries on, and 3 cheers to that.
we may be knocked out the World Cup and lost at Wimbledon, but when it comes to rally driving, Britain's Colin McRae still flies the red, white and blue. And with an impressive 22 victories, he's got a stranglehold on the 1998 FIA World Championship. And with this success comes rewards. He's got a country estate in Scotland, another in Monaco and a Swiss apartment. And now he's become a star of the screen in his own computer game.
It was British firm Codemasters who recently launched the hugely anticipated Colin McRae rally game, which has been in production for 2 years. It's become one of the most realistic, thrilling and advanced driving games on the market. It features 48 individual stages in over 8 different countries.
Right, Colin, I'm right in saying that you've not just put your name to this, have you? You've actually had something to do with the production of it.
Yeah, a lot of involvement in just the way the car handles in the game, the different characteristics and bumps and jumps and corners and different surfaces and general setup of the car, tyres, suspension, all that sort of stuff to get it as realistic as possible.
How realistic is the game?
Very. It's turned out very well. Even surprised me how good it feels when you drive it. The car handles differently in different surfaces. You can set it up with different tyres and different suspension, and obviously that makes a difference as well to the way it handles. They're all very evenly matched. In the sport, in the World Championship now, all the top cars are very evenly matched. So I mean, it is just exactly as we do. We set a car up before a rally, depending on weather conditions and surface, and you do exactly the same with the game.
Do you think it's going to help future generations become rally drivers?
I think it's good for young kids who obviously wouldn't know what rallying is, and it is very difficult to understand it unless you're right into the sport and you have been in events. So just as a sort of education thing, it's easy to see how a Grand Prix works. You know, you do 70 laps and the first guy across the line wins. Rallying's a bit different, so I think from that side of it, it'll give everyone a better understanding of how the sport works.
Now, Tommy Mackinon's got his own computer game as well. Is this more about friendly rivalry, or is this a status symbol? You know, when you've made it to the top, when you're a world champion, you know, you get your own computer game.
No, I'll have a bit of a wind-up with him in New Zealand, so I reckon mine's a lot better than his.
Now, Colin, I've got a real challenge for you. I know you're a racing car driver, but, you know, I'm pretty wicked on the computer game, so I challenge you to a game of doubles. But first, have a practice, and I'll see you later.
While Colin practices, I'm off to pick up some tips from game producer Guy Wilday.
In total, the game's been in production for probably about 2 years, but the main core development time's probably been about 18 months. The single most outstanding feature really for me is the fact that the game is based on the sport of rallying, world rallying. Most of the games seem to take a very sort of arcadey standpoint. This game is realistic to the sport. It involves point-to-point stages throughout the countryside rather than looping tracks. And we've tried to make it as realistic as possible. We've used proper clocks that time the stages. There's no other cars on the stages, it's just you against the elements.
So how did Colin come on board then?
Colin is really a UK motorsport icon. You know, I think sort of second to Damon Hill, he's probably one of the best known motorsport figures in the UK, certainly. He's renowned for his sort of his excellent and exciting driving, and I think he was an obvious title. Colin was very keen to be involved and has been involved in a whole number of areas. He was involved in the initial design and had some strong feelings on what the game should be. He was very keen that it be very realistic. That was really his sort of key standpoint, and he's been involved throughout the development process. We've sent him discs, he's reviewed it and basically played it and commented on the mechanics, on the way the car handles, on the look of the tracks. You know, it's been very important to him to be involved and to make sure that it's, you know, it's worthy of his name.
What special features does the cars have?
The car is as realistic as we think it can be. You can damage the car if you hit trees or clip trees. The panels will bend on the car, it will look visibly damaged. You can break lights, you can break windows. If you hit the front wheel against a tree or a rock, it'll actually bend the steering and the car will start to pull to one side or another. If you roll the car, you'll get dents in the roof, and if you damage the car seriously, it'll affect the performance. It'll start to, the engine will start to slow down. You can lose gears in the gearbox. So there's a whole number of damage sort of aspects to the car.
And what about different countries? Is there different countries you can play as well?
We've got 8 different countries in the game. We tried to pick a cross-section of countries throughout the world that the World Rally Series race in. We've picked you know, everything from UK rallies to sort of Sweden, Monte Carlo, complete cross-section.
All right, Colin, you've had your practice now. I think it's time for a proper match.
This is the race we've all been waiting for. Ashworth versus McRae. And they're off, and McRae takes an early lead. Ashworth sadly lagging behind. And McRae's in pole position. He nearly loses it there. Oh, but what's this? It looks like McRae's got a problem with his steering. And he loses it on the corner. This is time for Ashworth to catch up here. Oh no, but he loses it on the corner as well. McRae's concentrating now, looks like he's going to get it. And he does as Ashworth wipes out.
Oh. Yeah, this game is fantastic. The graphics are amazing, and the speed you can go, you know, you can go 160 miles an hour. There's different tracks, mud, night, snow. The thing is, it's very addictive, so any footballers out there, beware. As far as him winning, well, you know, he's a guest after all, isn't he?
When you think of the Japanese, you don't think of a particularly emotional race. So it's strange then that we actually have the Japanese to thank for one of the most evocative types of car there is. I'm talking, of course, about the Roadster.
Fiat's Barchetta, the MGF, the glorious Z3, and the list goes on. All of them are much loved vehicles, but it was the MX-5 that started the whole thing off. Some very brave Japanese executives took a big gamble with the MX-5, and it paid off. The fact that it's taken Mazda 9 years to replace it shows just how successful it's been. I'm sure you'll agree with me when I say that I really don't envy the designers and the engineers faced with the task of updating one of these success stories of the 90s. But they've managed to do it, and here it is. The new MX-5. It's slightly wider, with a new interior and more equipment. Not very different at first glance, you might think, to the old version. But take a closer look, because the much-loved pop-up headlights have gone. They've popped their clogs. And it's a real shame, because for me, those lamps were the eyes of the old MX-5. They were its character, and without them, the new car now looks like lots of other cars. I loved the old styling, and although the 98 version is a very attractive car, it doesn't tug on my heartstrings in quite the same way. The old version of the MX-5 was much maligned for being a bit of a girl car. So in an attempt to make this version more macho, Mazda have added a bulge to the bonnet. You get a better hood on the new MX-5, although it's still very light and is easy to get down. There's no zipping out of the plastic rear windscreen anymore. The new one is heated glass and it folds neatly into place. So what of this all-new interior? Well, it's black, it's plasticky, and yes, it's boring. No surprises here then, this is definitely Japanese. To be fair though, they have added a passenger airbag as standard and a rather nice Nardi steering wheel, which livens things up just a little bit. And the boot is now actually more like a boot. It's bigger in here. In fact, there's just enough room to fit your weekly shopping in. Now, looks and practicality are all very well. But the whole point of a Roadster is the experience you get behind the wheel. You want pure, unadulterated fun. So how does the new MX-5 measure up in the smiles per mile stake? Well, the MX-5 is still a classic sports car. It's front-engined with rear-wheel drive. However, the performance of this engine has increased significantly over the old version. What that means on the road is that its 4-cylinder 16-valve engine feels very fast and it's always raring to go. But it's when you give the MX-5 a set of bends to string together that it really comes into its own. The power steering is extremely direct, it's sharp and responsive. The car has a natural feeling of balance about it, which makes driving on roads like this a whole lot of fun.
And the improved suspension means that it keeps the ride comfortable and smooth over any lumps or bumps you might find. And let's not forget, of course, the lovely short gear shift that lets you work through the gears with just a flick of the wrist.
And if you are planning to have some fun on twisty, turny roads, then you'll be happy to know that the brakes do feel nice and sharp. However, you'll need to go for this top-of-the-range 1.8 IS to get an anti-lock system.
Thankfully for British drivers, the MX-5 comes complete with a belting little heater. And believe me, when you're driving a roadster with the top down, in Manchester you need all the heat that you can get.
So, how much does it cost to have this much fun? Well, the entry-level 1.6 is £15,500 on the road. The 1.8 is £16,650, and if you want to splash out on this 1.8 IS, it'll set you back £18,775. Oh, and you'll need another £250 for the metallic paint.
If the MX-5 were a potential date, then you would have to say that it has a great personality. It isn't exactly stunning to look at, but you know that you're going to have heaps of fun with it. And if it's a long-term commitment that you're looking to make, would you rather have a car that makes you smile when you see it parked on your driveway, or one that makes you grin when you get it out on the open road? I love roadsters.
"18 months ago, Peugeot gave us this, the 406, their mid-range family saloon. It was an instant success with the press, the buying public, and more importantly, the fleet buyers. Now, based on that success, Peugeot are introducing this, the new 406 Coupe, designed and built by Pininfarina. Its looks are drop-dead gorgeous. Let's see what its performance is like. Earlier, I spoke to Todd Evans from Peugeot for the official Peugeot view of the car.
The 406 Coupe has got a number of worthy competitors in the marketplace. The key volume models, both the Ford Probe and the Calibra, are both ageing, so I think that we can discount those. I think the 406 Coupe is going to stand up very well against more expensive models simply because it's such a fabulous expression of style, and that's what people are buying into, and that's why it's going to be successful. The gadgets, as far as the 406 Coupe are concerned, are fabulous, and the two that I suppose I would pick out, because people seem to express terrific interest in them, is first of all, when you open the door window pops down about ½ an inch, and when you close it, it pops up again automatically to create a wonderful seal because it's a frameless door. And the second point, when you open the door and you want to let rear passengers into the car, you flick the squab forward and the whole seat slides on a little electric motor. Wonderful to watch. When you flick it back, it slides back again. You've got rain-sensitive windscreen wipers and other things, but those two, I think, are the things that the gimmick lovers will really enjoy.
Our relationship with Pininfarina goes back around 46 years now, and we've turned to them as a partner when we want something distinctive and different off our mainline design. If you're a designer and you've developed the 406, you think that's a perfect car, to turn to that same team and say, now do a coupe off it, you don't get that natural feel for doing a completely different expression of the car than you would if you go to a different design house. Pininfarina have been wonderful for us, and this 406 coupe is the very best expression of their work.
Well, I've seen a fair amount of Warwickshire country lanes this afternoon, and I must say, on a day as sweltering as this, I was very glad to have the air conditioning. While everyone else was sweltering, I was cool as ice in there. Did I like the car? Well, yes, I did actually. It's not a rocket ship, but it's certainly no sluggard. It's very nicely appointed inside, and it handles really well. The engine's really responsive, and all in all, it gives a very good feel to it. There are a few items I'd like to show you inside. Some are, for instance, the seats. Look at this. Isn't that nice? And when you're in, so what don't I like? Well, the only thing I really don't like is this immobiliser pad. Every time you get in the car and turn the engine on, you have to punch in your number on the pad before the thing will start. This 406 from Peugeot is the latest addition to the coupe market, a growing marketplace. It'll be interesting to see how the market takes to it, but I for one like it and give it full marks.